Today, with the ringing of our peace bowl, we affirm our collective hope for peace in the world, in our country, and within ourselves. We acknowledge that these lands that we love are the unceded ancestral lands of the Yavapai people. So, good morning. First, remember to turn your phone off. Okay. Second, I'm Suki Jones, your worship associate this morning. She, her pronouns. Reverend Michelle is speaking at our sister congregation this morning, Prescott Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, and she'll be back in the office on Tuesday. So we have with us this morning Feather Levey. They are a South African immigrant who grew up in the Northeast. They hold a bachelor's in writing and a master's in business. Upon graduating, they co-founded a technology company that created and patented a novel blockchain algorithm, and I have no idea what that means. So that will be a good conversation after over there at coffee hour. In July of 2025, they moved to Prescott to be a spiritual healer and ended up in politics instead. That's how a lot of us got to meet Feather. A year later, life has settled down, and they are once again spending the majority of their time in spiritual practice besides holding down 4 jobs. Yeah, your life has settled down. Welcome, Feather. Welcome, everyone. It's great to see you here with your smiling faces and looking very relaxed after you've had your eyes closed and wherever Lena took us with that music. Is anyone visiting us for the first time or are kind of newish? And if you are and are willing just to raise your hand, we're not going to ask you anything more than that, but just raise your hand so we know where you are. Hello, good morning, special welcome. We have a fabulous coffee hour that we're famous for afterwards, so please stay and get a chance to chat with everybody. Thank you, sir. Okay, we will talk to you later, too. We extend a very special and warm welcome to each of you. These are the words of Ian W. Riddell. Come one, come all. Come with your missing pieces and your extra screws. Come with your hard edges and your soft spots. Come with your bowed heads and upright spines. Come, all you flamboyant, and drab, verbose and quiet fidgeting and lethargic, all you with large vision and tender hearts, all you with small courage and tender fears. Bring your lisp and your stutter and your song. Bring your gravel and your drawl and your lilt. Bring your anger and joy and your righteous indignation. Misfits and conformists and everyone in between, come into this space and be welcome. Bring who you are, bring where you've traveled, and bring what you long for, and let us worship together. We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting a chalice. Our chalice lighter this morning is Thomas Camargo. Today, we light the chalice with these words by Cindy Feston. We are all capable in different ways, with various strengths and talents. We are all holy, part of the universe and the interdependent web. We light this chalice, cherishing our differences and holding each other in sacredness. Our opening words this morning will be read by Thomas. You will be seeing him and Brian Willison up here in the future as they join the worship team.
Now for a major adjustment. Multiple Intelligences Welcome by Dawn Shea Cooley. The diversity of the human species is astounding. The fact that we can gather together for common experience is nothing short of a miracle. Today, let us celebrate some of those differences. Let us celebrate those who worship best through music, for whom the Holy speaks through rhythm and harmony, pitch and meter. Let us celebrate the interpersonal worshiper, who finds the sacred in relationships and in community. Let us celebrate those who worship best through the visual world, for whom the divine speaks through the aesthetics of a space. Let us celebrate the verbal and linguistic worshiper, for whom words and languages, stories and poetry are sacred sources of joy and revelation. Let us celebrate those to whom the divine might be found in logical reasoning, in mathematics, and through critical thinking. And let us celebrate the intrapersonal worshiper, those who experience the holy as they listen to the still, small voice within themselves. And let us celebrate those who worship best through their bodies, those to whom the divine speaks through movement and physical action. And let us celebrate the naturalistic worshiper, for whom the sacred is found in plants and animals, mountains and valleys, deserts and forests, oceans and streams. Today, may we find a way to connect with the ultimate, each according to our own ways of understanding and experiencing the world. May we bring our whole selves to this worship service and celebrate the diversity amongst us. And now please rise in either body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 1000 in the Teal hymnal. Morning has come.
Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and praise.
Please join me in saying the words to our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant together. This is the time in the service when we receive the offering. Your generosity supports this congregation and its programs so that we may continue to have a welcoming community that fortifies and challenges us in these trying and difficult times. We also give back to the greater community through our Seeds of Support program. This month's recipient is Empty Bowls. You can read about it on the screen and go talk to Dixie King after the service about volunteering. If you'd like to contribute online, please visit our website at prescottuu.org. The ushers will now collect the offering. We acknowledge the generosity of spirit expressed through this offering. What is given in love is received in gratitude. Blessed be. Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, a spiritual community where we find meaning, a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. We take this moment to reflect on our joys and sorrows and acknowledge the mutual support of our community. If there is an event that moves you to joy or concern, hope or gratitude, grief or remembrance, you are invited to come forward and drop a pebble into our communal water as an affirmation of our connection to one another. And I want to thank Marianne for getting out here today. She broke her leg at Monument Valley, I understand, but you've got a little scooter there to get around. So we wish you good. Well, I will throw a stone in the water in case you have anything you want to do, or maybe you're going to come up on your own, but Put one in for quick recovery to your leg. Now, please join in singing Spirit of Life. The words will be on the screen. The reading this morning is from a piece by Quinn Gormley titled Intricate Beauty. When my hospital chaplaincy cohort completed our final reviews, we had to give and receive feedback from our peers, not just our supervisor. One of my peers clearly struggled to speak to me honestly, fearful of hurting my feelings. Quinn, he said, you know a lot, like so much, and I love talking to you, but I think you might have an easier time relating to people if you dialed back the information. It's a lot to take in sometimes. I deflated, not because this was shocking to hear, but because it was terribly familiar. I've received similar feedback my whole life, and I've worked hard to rein it in. In part, the struggle comes from a lack of understanding. If I were lost in grief, the first thing I'd want to know is the words for it, and the theory, and the pathway. How else do you get unlost without a map? Information is a coping mechanism. It gives me hope. In my experience, people who aren't neurodiverse tend to frame neurodiversity as symptoms of inconvenience to people around them. My ADHD is being overexcited, distractible, fidgeting, being too much. This is not what it feels like on the inside. For me, my ADHD means beauty. This world around us is so unbelievably beautiful that it simply demands my attention. ADHD is only disabling at a psychological level because the world is too big to admire fully. Everything is interesting. Sadly, I can't pay attention to it all. One way I cope is to infodump. I love to share information, and I love to hear other people share it too. If someone else knows a whole bunch about something like relativity, I can save myself a bunch of time listening to them share about its beauty so I don't have to start from scratch when I go to admire it. My other coping mechanism is hyperfixation. I can fall down a hole of fascination with the intricate beauty of something so specific. It's so distracting and so painful to keep to myself. God made it this way, I think, and it's incredible. I have to show you so you can love it too. This world is beautiful. I introduced Feather, who I forgot to mention earlier. We are on the bucket list brigade playing drums together, so if you want to know more about that, talk to us later.
Thank you so much, Suki, for the warm introductions. In typical neurodiverse fashion, I have a bag of tricks, and it takes me a few moments to get them set up. Neurodiversity is a ginormous topic. It covers schizophrenia, dyscalculia, dyslexia, synesthesia, autism, ADHD, depression, anxiety, Tourette's, and many, many more. The only distinguishing factor that means that you are neurodiverse is if you are not neurotypical. The only two branches of this neurodiverse tree that I have been clinically diagnosed with, and therefore feel comfortable saying that I have lived experience with, is ADHD and autism. and I've only experienced living with these two conditions in America. So my talk is going to be centered on my experiences of ADHD and autism in America. My goal of this presentation is to flip the script on how we think about neurodiversity. The narrative that I've been told is that some ways of perceiving, interacting with, engaging with the world, and speaking with the world, those ways are healthy, and other ways are broken. Why is that? Why do some of us get the label of normal, of healthy, and others receive a medical condition? Rather than saying that some of us are neurodiverse, I'm going to be arguing that none of us are neurotypical. And that the society that we currently live in is failing our ability to be our full human selves. My methodology is going to be sharing my story of being a late diagnosed adult who has both ADHD and autism, and examining the ways that this has impacted me at various moments in my life. And then asking, why? Why was it this way? Should it be? Can it be any different? And if yes, how? Suki already shared a bit of my background. I was born in South Africa. I immigrated to the East Coast when I was still 2. I studied technical writing and rhetoric at a small polytechnic in small 10,000 students. And it's not MIT, but it was MIT's competitor for a while. It's known as WPI. I have been steeped in writing, science, and questioning why those in the establishment say things the way they are, and why exactly they say it, how they've said it, for over a decade. I'm very good at spotting an implicit narrative and asking the questions that expose it and examine it. Take the 6 feet of social distancing during COVID. That wasn't a very helpful way to explain that you needed 6 feet to stay safe. Social distancing implies that I've distanced myself from you. But saying 6 feet of physical distancing implies that you still keep all your social connections. You just maintain 6 feet of physical distance. How would our society have responded if that had been the messaging? Physical versus social. And these are the kinds of things that once you know how to see them and ask those questions, the way you see the world begins to unravel. And it becomes a question of, okay, who told me this? And why did they tell me it that way? What's the real story here? Verges on conspiracy theory. And it's a fine line. It's a very, very useful way, though, of unpacking systems of power, like patriarchy. My experience with neurodiversity. I got diagnosed with ADHD when I was 22, at the beginning of my senior year of neurodiversity. Up until this point in time, I'd been forcing myself to fit into a box, and I knew it broke me. I knew it was excruciating, but this was what I had to do. And at the end of my junior year, I knew I had 2 options in front of me. Continue as I was doing, pursuing academics, and I would kill myself, or I drop out. And so I was telling my mother of my plans to drop out, because seeing the future, I was like, I choose the path where I live, and perhaps also musing about the possibility of my having ADHD. She shortly found me a nurse practitioner that within 2 sessions of talking with me and collecting diagnostic criteria, had enough data to legally and confidently give me quite a hefty dosing of Adderall. When people were first discovering this drug, they took 50 milligrams to see what it did to them. They became very high. I was on a dose of 90 milligrams a day. That's a shockingly high amount, and it absolutely burned my brains out. But during the pandemic, I was able to push on through and collect both a bachelor's and a master's degree. However, my resulting burnout was severe. A good friend of mine who has also suffered intense burnout described it as the water table collapsing. Yes, the system can recover, but it will never be the same. I spent the next 3 years hardly able to leave the house. and certainly not able to contribute to capitalism. I survived because I was married to a software engineer. When I was 26, I was healthy enough to start putting effort into my recovery. I knew my brother had both ADHD and autism. Perhaps it was possible that I had the same as well, but I'd been told that girls didn't have autism. Within 20 minutes of talking with a trained clinician, I had my diagnosis. In his words, it wouldn't do me any good now that I was out of school to have my autism diagnosis, but perhaps it would help me with an employer to receive accommodations, to legally prove that I needed them. But in my mind, now I had the pieces I needed to start putting together the broken puzzle of myself. In this, I fortuitously met a friend who was a speech pathologist. She spends her days working with children who have severe autism and ADHD and helping them communicate with the world using speech-assistive devices, helping them navigate their different sensitivities. And when she met me, she was flabbergasted that I had only been diagnosed 2 months prior. It felt like every experience I had, whether it was my preference for the feel of certain fabrics, my dislike for certain kinds of brightness. Fluorescent lights are awful. And my intense need for clear, unambiguous communication that in no uncertain terms says exactly what you mean, because I will interpret you excruciatingly literally. All of this could be traced back to autism. And I was just blown away. It felt like every single part of my existence, including my gender queerness, was tied back to this thing that I didn't know I could have. Once I met my sensory needs, I ceased masking my autism, and I lovingly gave myself the space I needed to recover from any overwhelm. My recovery from burnout skyrocketed. When I was 27, I made the decision to divorce the software engineer and move across the country. When I was 28, I followed through. For anyone who's been entirely dependent on a spouse and in a situation with physical ill health, I still look back at that moment in my life and go, Feather, that was brave. But you did it, kid. Good job. Throughout my 28th year of life, I felt like I no longer had neurodiversity. When I first arrived in the state, I used to carry around a bag of tricks, a bag full of fidget toys and other things to help me de-stress when the lights became too bright, when the noises were too loud, or when I had to sit still. But somewhere along the way, I'd noticed I stopped using them, and so it became easier to leave this bag at home. Why take around extra luggage when you don't need it? I used to wear noise reduction earplugs. One day I lost half of the pair. Never bothered to replace it. They're expensive. People told me I looked funny wearing them. So what was the point? I used to cancel plans when I could feel my overwhelm creeping up on me. And one day, I couldn't. I had to go to that dinner. I just had to. Not doing it would have cost me social status and perhaps my job. And so that cycle continued. A cycle of me not meeting my needs, because appearing able-bodied, appearing healthy, was more beneficial than making sure I was healthy. And one day, I forgot that no matter the circumstances, I absolutely cannot work anywhere close to a 40-hour work week. My water table has collapsed, and if I could do that at one point, I can no longer. But I was on such a high of loving what I was doing, or of feeling that I needed to do it, of having made obligations, that stepping away from them was impossible. I was putting myself in harm's way. And this is because in the 2 years or so of upheaval and living out of my savings account, I had ceased marching to the tune of capitalism. I did what I was good at, what I wanted to do, and what helped others. And I was healthy while doing it. Not just in the way of I thought I was healthy, I was actually healthy. Fast forward to today, I no longer feel healthy. Those who work with me in the activism sphere know that I have stepped out entirely and have been absent for a month, if not longer. When I first started planning this talk, I was still in that phase of good health. My initial premise was how to manage neurodiversity so that one may feel like they no longer have it. Truthfully, I thought that I no longer had it. But within days of finalizing giving this talk at both Puff and here, my autistic burnout struck again, and my ADHD tendencies of an inability to focus and being generally scatterbrained came back in force. I was both humbled and realized I had to reconsider the entirety of this talk. I learned that I absolutely still meet the clinical criteria for both ADHD and autism. And when I live my life how it wants to be lived, I'm not burdened by either of these two diagnoses. They cease to exist and they cease to matter. So now my big question is, why? Why was I so much healthier when I wasn't following the rules of capitalism? And it might be because I was no longer doing the do it even if it doesn't make sense to do. Ignore the masked agent kidnapping people, sit down and write the emails. Don't ask questions, just do what I tell you to. No, don't take any of the product you've worked to create, that's from me to sell. You're being paid less than it costs to thrive. I was no longer following those rules. And I was healthy. Growing up, I thought it was all me, that if I couldn't focus after a student at my university had clearly committed suicide, I was the one at fault. That if I struggled to do a rote task that had no clear purpose, that I was the broken one. That if I refused to do things that I could see would have a greater negative outcome in the future than any positive outcomes it would possibly bring, that I had an attitude problem. That if I needed calm and cozy consistency to feel safe to create, that I just needed to toughen up. That I would rather give my focus to the humans next to me than to the computer screen or the math textbook, that I was lazy. None of these narratives are true. All of these responses that I had to life stimuli show my humanity. How many other responses or ways of perceiving and interacting with the world are manifestations of our humanity? I don't always read words properly. Sometimes they become jumbled, and I realize I have to go back and sound them out. I don't have dyslexia, but that sounds awfully close to it. Sometimes I look at numbers, and they flip themselves around, and I spit them out of my mouth in the wrong order. Is that dyscalculia? Or is it a learned fear of math class, where if I didn't get it right in the time that they wanted me to, I was wrong? It could be a bit of both. At what time, at what moment did we say that our differences were things to be pathologized and medicated away? To illustrate, who here likes being under fluorescent lights? Like, who here enjoys it? Who here touches something and gets immediately grossed out by it? Who here bites into something and immediately wants to spit it out? Taste might be fine, but texture is not there. Do microfiber cloths feel pleasant to touch? I'm not convinced that neurotypicality exists. Who here can spend 8 hours a day sitting still, talking to few people and doing computer-based tasks? Yeah, some people can, and some people enjoy it. We are different, and this is beautiful. I'm not sure, rather I am certain of this, but phrasing it as a question, does the world we live in today, of this mandated 40-hour plus work week, does that allow us to be ourselves? Some of our differences allow us to fit neatly into that 40-hour work week, and others don't. Others are so disabling that they are classed as disabilities. And if I was not incredibly fortuitous and lucky in my circumstances right now, I would need to be applying for disability pay because I cannot function in the system that we live in. And yet I know that I am an incredible worker. This is not a narrative that I believe on a daily basis. I believe this only because of my recent track record here in local politics, where I see tasks that were very challenging, some thought impossible to get done, and I didn't sit down, I got up and I did them. But those are things that I'm good at doing. That's what I'm able to do. And if this was a world that celebrated all of us, would we still have neurodiversity, or would we just have each other? I do also have data and facts that talk about ways to help with specifically ADHD and autism. There have been, this is super cool, the dopamine levels in brains that are neurotypical and brains that have been diagnosed with having ADHD is different. Let me see where I wrote it down. There is the baseline level of dopamine in neurotypical brains that's higher than those of brains with ADHD, meaning that the interest in tasks that are not inherently interesting is higher for some people than others. But for those with ADHD, the spike of doing an interesting task is far, far higher. This is a really good thing because it means that some people will continue doing the things that need to get done and that others will jump in when something new happens. It's really good to have this balance. It's not currently rewarded in today's world. Working with that dopamine system is called the PINCH framework, which stands for passion, tasks that align with the deep personal interests, your interest, activities that capture curiosity and engagement, the novelty of it, new and unfamiliar elements, challenge. If it's boring, I never do it. It has to be difficult. This includes eating spicy foods. And hurry or urgency. Is there time pressure to do it? Does it have to be done now? Implicitly, I was following this framework. When doing research, I found it was a scientific thing. And I was like, well, hey, that's really so much nicer than methamphetamines. For autism, meeting my sensory needs is a must. If a space is loud, if a space is noisy, loud, bright, I will be physically miserable. So creating spaces that meet my physical sensory needs and seeking out those spaces is necessary for my well-being. But I found that most people enjoy spaces that meet my sensory needs. So I think we should just make every single space sensory friendly. Having a weighted pillow or blanket at home is good. After an overwhelming day, I lie underneath that. It helps ease my stress. Wearing clothes that I feel comfortable in. I have to shop by touching. I see an item. If it looks cute, I touch it. If it doesn't feel right, that's it. Using bright colors for both ADHD and autism, having that visual interest, highly important. Using colors in calendars, getting things written down in clear and unambiguous communication, so that way we can go back to the written record. I don't trust my memory. I don't trust anyone's memory, but specifically I don't trust mine. The next question, how can we take what we've learned today and apply it? How can we build a world that celebrates everyone, where being different does not mean broken? We have some minutes left, maybe. We can open it up to questions if there is time. Thank you all.
So are there any questions? And if so, please wait until Fred gets to you with a microphone so that the people on Zoom can hear you. Any questions? Maybe not.
Oh, you mean I have to turn this back off again then? Huh? Oh, there's a question. Good. I thought I was going to be wasted.
Enjoyed your talk very much. I wonder if the
the coming of the Industrial Revolution basically brought people into large factories where time, beginnings and endings were set and so forth. I wonder if there was more tolerance to variety of diverse neurological approaches. May have been greater when we were smaller numbers, living in smaller numbers, and not so machine-oriented. But of course, this is the world we live in now, but I wonder if you've thought about that.
I have thought about that. Thinking about it this morning, I was like, back 100 years ago or so, I think I would have been okay as an assembly line production worker. I would have been physically active. I wouldn't have had to be using my brain the entire time. And I would have been around other people doing the same exact task as me. There's a phenomenon called body doubling, where someone is just there, and because their body is doing the same exact thing as yours, it's easier to do the task. Nowadays, having to do such individualized, lonely work, where every single minute has to be productive, that's quite inhuman. Resting is productive, but that doesn't make money, and so it's not called productive time. So yes, and I think the problem will continue to get worse until we decide to make it better. Yeah, I see a few people.
So Feather, besides cognitive behavioral therapy, what other approaches make it easier to fit into a neurotypical world?
I don't think I have a good answer to that question. I tend to break the neurotypical world. Yeah, I very much don't fit into it. At least as I understand it to be. All of the people that I get along with and work well with, I would not describe as neurotypical. So I found it best to find others who are like, yep, okay, these 15 minutes, this is our focus time, and we spend the next 45 minutes playing, but we do everything we need to do in those 15 minutes. And other modes like that, or where it's like, this is the schedule, we keep it. It's not changing. No. And other people who just implicitly understand. I prefer people who use a lot of nonverbal communication. Words are useful to explain abstract concepts, but there's a lot that doesn't need to be said and is still understood. So those who communicate that way, and for me, those who have a touch of the metaphysical to them, who understand that there's more to this world that meets the eye, and who especially understand that we can use scientific tools and reasoning to better understand that.
Good morning. Thank you so much for sharing some of your experience as a parent of what we lovingly say, we have some neurospicy children.
Neurospice.
What sort of advice would you give to if you were a parent, and what hope would you give your children for the future?
Yeah, I've babysat. The kids I love babysitting are those who are incredibly neurospicy. And for every single one of them, we have the most engaging conversations. What I have found incredibly useful for myself, because I lack proprioception, the knowing of my own body, helping them tell, like, oh, that feeling in your chest? Could it be anxiety? Could it be excitement? What are some ways to get that energy out of you? Thinking of the system in terms of energy out, energy in, energy stuck, and moving it through. Sometimes you just need to sleep, but before you can sleep, you have to run a marathon and perhaps drink some caffeine. So knowing that nothing is going to be the same on any day of the week, talking with them, asking them questions. Every single neurospicy child I've met is able to tell they're being teased And it's like, but why do you think that? And sometimes they go quiet and they're like, I don't know why I think that. And it's an epiphany, because some days I'm like, you're asking me the same question. I need to flip this, I need to reverse this right now, because this isn't going anywhere, because what you need is to feel grounded in some way. Time in nature is also a must, and that's a challenge. Like going out, sticking hands and feet in appealing textures. If a child says they don't like something, not like gently inquiring, but also being like, okay, no, that's a sensory need. I'm not going to make you eat the mushrooms. You don't like how they feel textually, and like really working with that. Having growth as a desired outcome and goal, while also being like, you actually do know your body best. Let me help you learn what its needs are so we can meet them together. Does that help?
Good morning. Feather's a dear, dear friend of mine and part of many tribes that I am in. And I am not a member of this church, but I consider you part of my tribe here in Prescott because of all of our like-mindedness. I have many neurodiverse people in my family, some of whom won't believe me because I'm a psychologist and I chose to not have children because I thought there were going to be too many in the world. That was a weird thing to think in 1960s. But I'm here as Feather's friend to support her, and I can ask her questions later because we could talk all day, and we often do. Well, we haven't because she's been too busy and I've been too busy, but we will talk, and I'll ask her my questions. But what I would like to offer as joy and connection, my husband passed a week ago. Everybody wants me to be the grieving widow, but I'm neurodivergent, and I don't do everything the way everybody else does, so I'm doing it my way. And so what I'm asking from all of you, not for myself, but for Prescott, a city that I'm grounded in, that I did much like Feather. I came here, I didn't know anybody. I set down roots. I practiced and practiced and practiced in many ways. I retired. I became a caregiver. And now I'm ready for my third act. And I'm still here in Prescott showing up. So show up. If you have people you think or might be neurodivergent, or you just are curious, learn about it, read about it, accept it, and support people who are struggling, not because they're neurodivergent, because we are all neurotypical and we are all neurodivergent. We live in this black and white world, and folks, it's just not that simple. It's more complicated than that. We're just human beings muddling through. We've made a mess, and now we have to either survive, or unlike the dinosaurs, we won't make it 3 million years. We'll just go somewhere else and be something else. Thank you for listening.
I know John had a question, and somebody over here will take those two. And then we'll need to put an end to this. Keep your questions short, answers short. And remember, there's a coffee hour afterwards, and I'm sure we'll all gather around Feather for more information.
So my question is, I have two neurodivergent grandchildren, both of them with ADHD and some other issues that makes it difficult for them to fit in. Problem is, my granddaughter is now 25. She's very skilled in math and other things, has an incredible memory, and will never, I don't think, without a change in the world, ever be able to be employed. My grandson, who is less autistic, although he was nonverbal for the first 4 years of his life before he got intervention. But when you ask him a question, it takes him 10 seconds to process that and speak to you. Again, he has some great skills. He can't get through an interview. People dismiss him. And the question is, it's frustrating to me, what can I do?
Ha, ha, ha. I didn't know if I would share this today. To answer your question, I relate with all of the experiences of your grandchildren. Many people here know me through my political activism work. I helped get Jay Ruby elected to City Council. I helped get the Protect Education Act on the statewide initiative. I am good at political work and good at working with volunteers. I applied to be the coordinated campaign person for Yavapai County, to be the organizer. I was not hired. The person interviewing me told me via email that they were looking for someone with better qualifications. And I was like, perfect, someone with better qualifications exists. I'm so glad for this area. My former boss, Jay, was like, who? So he called them up and he was like, I told you to hire Feather, why didn't you? And the person responding said, oh, well, the interviewer told me that he thought that Feather had a bad attitude and that they would crumble under pressure. The person interviewing me is a 22-year-old white male still in college. So, yeah, the world needs to change. I only have every single job I have today because people know me personally and have told other people, hey, hire Feather. I don't get jobs through interviews or resumes. I never have, and I don't expect I ever will.
Thank you. Between the years 1949 and 1952, over 50,000 people in this country were given frontal lobotomies. Most of them were women who suffered from postpartum depression and were misdiagnosed. The test for that was if they could not say the words Methodist Episcopal. Seriously. My first career was a group therapist working with quote-unquote emotionally disturbed children. It was their parents who were disturbed. We sat down as a crew, the staff we lived in, and we threw out all their pills, where they were misdiagnosed. We did diet therapy and caring, and we had an 80% successful turnover. I was fired immediately. I took away the income from this place rather than the joy of giving back and understanding. In 2004, I was brought in to rescue the Marietta Johnson School of Organic Education in Fairhope, Alabama, the forerunner of modern education, or education period. Each child was respected and looked at as an organic being, not as a number. This country and this world and this planet has continuously abused and misunderstood people from the very beginning. Thank you for being here. I'm very involved in the future of Prescott. I chair a not-for-profit, one of the most successful in the country for getting children healthy and outdoors. I'm proud to be part of that. Yesterday, Patricia and I visited Mingus Mountain 4-H camp, where one of my board members is now the director, #1 in the United States for getting kids outdoors healthy. She doesn't look at any child as that unusual person. It's that gifted person. Everybody in this room has a gift. It's up to us to learn what our gifts are and be accepted. So thank you.
Sorry, I'm going to cut off. And his is quick, and hers is quick. Sorry. You want to take your... thank you all for your participation, for your stories. I know there are several more hands that I saw out there. We could go over time, but I know people don't want to. So maybe I will suggest that we'll close the service, and those who want to stay with their comments or questions, you're all welcome to stay. Does that work? Okay. So, our closing hymn has not been sung much lately. Once a rallying cry at demonstrations, it has more recently been the subject of much hurt and much debate. One UU said, "It's beautiful. I love singing this song, even on those days when I'm not able to stand for long. I disagree with those who want to ban the song in case it might offend a mobility-challenged person such as myself. But many disabled people felt the words did not speak to them. So the songwriter, the Reverend Jason Shelton, was moved to reimagine it. In August 2016, he decided to change the lyric to "Answering the Call of Love." So please rise in body and spirit and sing "Answering the Call of Love."
The promise of the Spirit, faith and hope of above, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide, answering the call of love. Hands joined together as heartbeat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering in the call of love. Sometimes we build the mother to keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as heartbeat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to reclaim we are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling our vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together and hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love.
Brian Willison will be extinguishing the flame and giving the benediction. Please join me in these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Spirit of wondrous creation, we thank you today for the attention you give to each corner of creation. each iota of beauty, each afterthought of awe. We are blessed to live in a world so beyond our comprehension. May we never cease to be amazed by each detail.
So, unfortunately today, even though we're late, there were several announcements handed to me, which were right here. One is, oh shoot. Okay. The annual auction theme is Carnival, and the donation forms are now available. Put them in the box out there, or there is on the form a link to where you can do it online. The other quick announcement is Wanted Granite Weeders. Help keep our landscape beautiful. Wednesday, August 12th at 10 a.m. Come out and pull weeds, please. And one more. As many of you know, this is the last Sunday Martin Bramhall will be with us as our tech operator. He got us through rough times in Davis Hall, there behind the screen for the Sunday service with his puppet, and rough times getting all the equipment set up for the new sanctuary. He was faithfully here with us each Sunday to flip switches and test equipment and adjust microphones. So Martin, could you please step out of your booth or stand up? Let's all give him a round of applause. And let's welcome our new tech operator, Samuel Syens. So you can greet both of them after the service. There is a special cake back there that Martin is just itching to get to. So thank you all. If you want to stay, we can leave the mic on, or we can all just go talk in Davis Hall. But thank you all for being here today.